My brothers and sisters, high places are associated with worshiping deities in the scriptures, most often false Elohim. The Canaanites worshiped their Elohim on high places, which were basically hills that were sometimes artificially made. These hills would often have some sort of altar at the top, surrounded by grooves of trees and Asherah poles, pillars, or standing stones. Their worship often consisted of burnt offerings, incense, feasts and festivals, cult prostitution, and child sacrifice. Yahuwah warns the Israelites throughout the scriptures about becoming involved in pagan worship. Even before they entered Canaan, Yahuwah commanded the Israelites to destroy the high places. You shall surely destroy all the places where the nations whom you shall dispossess serve their Elohim, on the high mountains and on the hills and under every green tree. You shall tear down their altars and dash in pieces their pillars and burn their Asherim with fire. You shall chop down the carved images of their Elohim and destroy their name out of that place. You shall not worship Yahuwah Elohim in that way, but you shall seek the place that Yahuwah Elohim will choose out of all your tribes to put his name and make his habitation there. Yahuwah set himself apart from the pagan Elohim and their worship practices. Their ceremonies and rituals went against his character, and he did not want himself or his people to have any association with these false Elohim. Because Yahuwah knew his people's fallen nature, he commanded the destruction of these worship sites for their own protection from sin. Unfortunately, the Israelites did not heed Yahuwah's warning. Throughout their history, from the time of Judges to the reign of the kings, they continued to return to their false idols. Before the temple was built, the Israelites worshiped Yahuwah on high places of a sort. The patriarchs and other pre-temple Hebrews often built altars to Yahuwah on hills. Prior to Solomon's construction of the temple, 1 Kings 3:2 tells us the people were sacrificing at the high places. However, because no house had yet been built for the name of Yahuwah. When the temple was built, Yahuwah designated it as the place where the people should worship him. But worship at the high places did not stop once the temple was built. Solomon likely began by worshiping Yahuwah in the high places before, but later in his life, he let his many pagan wives lead him to worship their Elohim in the high places. Solomon's example stuck like a bad habit for the Israelites. King after king failed to tear down the high places, and the sin was passed down to succeeding generations as they continued to worship at the high places, engaging in pagan forms of worship. Even many of the good kings of Judah who followed Yahuwah left the high places. Hezekiah removed high places, but Manasseh rebuilt them. Later, Josiah removed them. Yahuwah had told the Israelites to drive out the Canaanites, destroy their idols, and demolish the high places from the promised land. He had warned, but if you do not drive out the inhabitants of the land from before you, then those of them whom you let remain shall be as barbs in your eyes and thorns in your sides, and they shall trouble you in the land where you dwell. And I will do to you as I thought to do to them. This proved to be true. In our lives today, we may not worship false Elohim at literal high places, but many of us still have high places of a sort, idols that we turn to instead of Yahuwah, or in addition to Yahuwah. But there is only one true Elohim, and he alone is worthy of all our worship. So let us tear down the high places of false worship in our lives and instead worship the one true Elohim in spirit and in truth. Shalom.